What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, on this episode of PSF Garage, I'm going to tell you why it's PSF and how it got its name. Stay tuned. Alright, so we're in my backyard here, and we're actually going to use this as an example here in just a minute. But what does PSF stand for? It stands for pretty straightforward. And pretty straightforward is usually a rationale or reasoning as to why I'm doing something that I'm doing, usually to my wife, your girlfriend, your significant other, whatever it may be. When something sounds absolutely crazy, but you're trying to reassure them that it's going to work out just fine. It's pretty straightforward. Don't worry about it. That's kind of the example. And so this trip coming up is a perfect time because I had a conversation with my wife last night, and it's the exact same situation that it always is. So today is Monday. I recorded some videos over the weekend. We went through the Jeep and kind of took care of a couple of things that needed to be done. It's still up on jack stands in the front because we're waiting on a few parts for the steering to come in from Artec Industries right now so that we can get that done. If I'm lucky, and they did ship today, which is great. If I'm lucky, they'll be here from Salt Lake 2 days to Washington, and hopefully they're here on Wednesday and I can get that installed and done so that we can leave on Thursday. However, last night when I came in from doing all the things that I was doing with the Jeep, and my wife said, so what do you have going on this week that we need to make sure we're taking care of? And I said, well, let's see. Right now I've got 5 trucks in inventory. I'm trying to sell one off to a fellow that I know. So the sale is pending on it, hoping I can figure that out today. I've got 2 other trucks, one of which should be fully cleaned up and ready to go by this morning, Monday morning. I've got another one that I'm getting wrapped up. It's getting a little bit of paint done to the rear. I've got to switch over some wheels and tires on that, and I need to go get balanced at Discount Tire. I've got a FJ Cruiser that I have being worked on right now. It's getting a little bit of paint and body work, and that needs to get wrapped up. I've got a 95 Land Cruiser I found that's awesome. That's already done with paint. That needs to be brought over to the recon shop so that they can go through it and clean it out a little bit better than I can. This is also why I recruit help and work and have good folks around me that can do those things and specialize in it. When the FJ Cruiser's done, that needs to get brought over to recon as well. I'm hoping to take pictures and video of all 4 of those, 2 Tacomas, 1 FJ Cruiser, and 1 Land Cruiser before we leave on Thursday. I still have to wrap up the Jeep and get that finished up, and one of the Tacomas is scheduled to get brought to the Port of Tacoma to ship off to a friend in Kauai who purchased it, but I still need to get that done before it ships off. So my wife said to me after I rattled off all the things that need to get done, well, babe, if we can't leave right away on Thursday morning, we can probably move it back to Friday. It's not that big of a deal, but it is a big deal, and I don't want to postpone anything for the family that involves work and the things that I have to do as well. So we want to make sure I get it done. But that's a perfect example of me rattling all of this stuff off to my wife, and she's like, babe, if we can't get that all done, I mean, that's a lot to tackle before Wednesday. And I said, don't worry about it. It's pretty straightforward. I got it. I've already got it laid out. I know what to do. We'll make it happen. Not a big deal. Well, what about your Jeep? I thought, you've got the steering to fix and stuff. That always takes a little longer than you think it does. And I say, don't worry about it. It's pretty straightforward. This time, it's pretty straightforward. Just got to make a cut. I'm going to weld in some new adapters for the end of the links. Should be good to go. No big deal. Now, does it always work out that way? No, not usually. Usually what happens is it does take longer than you think it's going to. I underplan a little bit. I'm super optimistic about things and expect it to not take too long. Usually takes a little longer than I expect, but I think I have prepped this pretty well. The steering is basically out of my Jeep right now. And ready to put in the new stuff. So why am I in the backyard doing this? And it is late winter. We're not quite to the springtime yet, so this doesn't look the best. It's not the highest quality it looks, but this pond is a good example of pretty straightforward. I'll try to add a picture of what the pond used to look like when we first bought the house, but we had this little fish pond, and it was very small, not a ton of water, had 2 little koi fish in it, wasn't very big, and it was always a sludgy mess and kind of a pain in the neck to deal with. And I thought, well, if we're gonna have a pond, I mean, let's have a pond. And we wanted a pool, but then we looked at the price of a pool and I thought, I don't need somebody to come in and build me a in-ground pool for $90,000. I'll do it myself. Seems pretty straightforward. So I borrowed a buddy's mini excavator and started digging a hole in the backyard. And my wife kept saying, how long do you think this is gonna take? And I said, I mean, honestly, I probably just need a couple of weekends, and it seems pretty straightforward. I'll just knock it out. It's basically a hole. I'm gonna put the liner down in it. We put some rocks in it. I'm gonna put the rocks around it. We fill it in with rocks, run the PVC for the waterfall. Easy peasy, done. Pretty straightforward. No, this was not straightforward at all. There is more than 22 tons of rock here. All of it was hand moved with either a wheelbarrow, me lugging it around, and then placing it with a mini excavator. My wife trusts me a lot to be able to do that. And I remember digging this giant hole in the backyard, and when it had nothing with it, right? I had shaped it out. I was getting ready to put the liner in, and I remember thinking like, man, I hope she sees this vision and I hope she trusts me. And she trusts me. She couldn't see the vision. She saw the giant hole in the backyard and was hoping that it would turn out to be something nice, which it ended up doing in the long run. But I grinded this thing out. We moved all the rock. It's about 5 feet deep in the middle. It's got borders around it so the kids can walk. There's a little wade-in spot in the far side. And her and I did all the landscaping last year, which included all this rock. I moved a lot more of this rock as well. So it was a fun project. It was anything but pretty straightforward. But that's the idea, right? So PSF garage, pretty straightforward garage. I do the same thing with the cars I sell, PSF Motorsports. I try to keep everything pretty straightforward. If you're looking for a car, you're looking for a truck, you want something that's lowered, something that's lifted, something that is specific and unique to you. We try to keep that all pretty straightforward. It shouldn't be that complicated. Everything should be pretty easy. And even if it's not as pretty straightforward as it seems, the mentality of pretty straightforward keeps you moving on. An example, the Dodge Durango. That thing has been a project and a half. All of the other things I'm doing are part of the reason why that's not done quite yet. We're making progress on it. I'm pumped on it. I'm pumped to get it done, but it's definitely not a pretty straightforward project. It is a ton of work. It is a huge undertaking, but it's really gratifying. Not one time have I ever thought I'm gonna part this thing out and get rid of it. It's not something I picked up from somewhere else and have done a little bit with, and I'm just like, I'm over it, I'm gonna sell all this stuff. And I think my wife's asked me a couple of times, what if you got rid of that? What if we got something else and you got rid of that? And I said, no, there's no way. I've done so much work to that at this point. I'm excited to see it done. I'm excited to see it run. I have all the things that I need for it. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it. So, work-life balance, family balance, whatever it is you're doing, if you keep it pretty straightforward and you keep that mindset and that mentality, you're gonna get anything done. I appreciate you watching. We'll have some more stuff soon. We're headed to King of the Hammers. I've got a laundry list of things I gotta get done to the WJ before we leave. It's easy, we've got it. It's pretty straightforward. I'll see you next time.